Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Monday. Welcome to Make It Happen Mondays, where we take a little bit of time out of our busy lives so we can be informed, inspired, and make it happen for the rest of the week. I am your host, Monique, and I am joining you from my second home, the beautiful island of St. Martin. If you do not know, I travel in between United States, Cleveland, Ohio, and St. Martin down in the West Indies. It is a blessed experience. I've been doing it for about 2.5 years. I'm here in my apartment, and I'm so excited to join you here on Make It Happen Monday. So, with that being said, please give your girl some grace because I don't have my adapters. I don't have my things, So we just rolling with it today. We rolling with it today. I wanted to say about Make It Happen Monday because 12 o'clock on a Monday may be a little rough for some of you, but I want you to know that it's intentional because I am encouraging you to just take a break, get your lunch, join us, watch this show, take a moment. We got to start taking breaks. And so Make It Happen Monday is designed to give you that little bit of moment. Hey, I want you to know that this is also designed to be a virtual space for us as Black women leaders. This is where we can talk out our stuff. We don't want any filters. Our guests have no filters. We like to share our stories. And when we share our stories, we know that we are not alone. How many times have y'all been like, girl, you did that? Me too. You feel like that? Girl, me too. Yeah, that's what this is for. And we want to make sure that we elevate Black women. We have those of us that are in the cameras, in the limelight. Yes, they're great. But what about the everyday Black woman that's making it happen every single day? That's what we want to lift up here. And our goal is through these conversations that you are going to get refueled, re-energized, replenished, whatever reword you want to take, that you are going to get even stronger. Not this whole push through strong, but this mental and emotional and spiritual strength that allows you to wake up every day and do what you're purposed to do. And we want you to grow. So my goal is to make sure that we're giving practical tips that you can apply to your life. Nothing so abstract. My job is to bring it down, make it simple so you can apply it to your life. So we are just kicking this off. It's been 4 years, but we're just coming back. Last month, we did the Power Series. Y'all can catch that on YouTube. And while y'all looking at YouTube at Monique Inc., go ahead and subscribe. You can subscribe to me at Monique Inc. on IG, but we're building a new page for She's Rising. Did I tell y'all about She's Rising? She's Rising, y'all, is my work with Black women leaders. It's a division. It's created to help Black women leaders, driven Black women leaders that are tired of just surviving, get your breakthrough so you can live a fulfilled life, right? We want you to go from struggle to ease. And we have a master class coming up. I Love My Life Masterclass, where we are going to be teaching you what is necessary. How do you start to live a life that you love? And I put the link right here. Register for that masterclass. It is free. It is free. Your girl don't do a lot of things for free, but I'm going to do this masterclass for free because I want you all to start to build a life that you love. You are not stuck. You don't have to struggle. You can come out of survival mode, right? Let's live this life of ease. So that is about She's Rising. That is what's been going on with me. And we have a special guest today. So go ahead and share this with your girls. Comment. We are live. Comment. We want to say hello to you. We want to answer any questions that you have. So make sure that you interact with us here. And I am going to share our guest. Our topic today is believing and doing bigger. Believing and doing bigger. Okay. And we have our dream. She's just a dream everything. And so y'all gonna see when she comes on. She helps people make their dreams come true. And we are coming from the book of Believe Bigger by Marshawn Evans Daniels. And we're going to talk about this topic today. So let me not waste no more y'all time. Let me tell you about our guest, Dr. Diandra Renée, PhD, Esquire. I love to say that. She is a global force of intelligence, business, scholarship, and class. Dr. Diandra Renée is a proud HBCU grad with an earned PhD in human development and family science, a law degree, and a DEI an HR certificate from Cornell University. She is known for her advocacy for racial equity for Black people, youth, and families, transforming the heart, HEART, which she'll tell you about, of education, encouraging others to pursue excellence, and creatively elevating stories that transform lives through her nonprofit and podcast work. Dr. Diandra Renée has proven success across seas and disciplines, transforming the industries of business, education, law, and entertainment. She is a dynamic speaker. She's requested all over the world. So we are so blessed to have her here today. But most importantly, she cherishes her titles of woman, daughter, sister, and friend. So y'all know how we do it on Make It Happen Monday, our Guest Tuesday Make It Happen song. So I am going to play and then bring Dr. Diandra up. 1 second. Listen, I told y'all, work with me today. I'm changing my settings so y'all can hear the song. Here we go. Every time, always go through you, do it every time. Father, it's me, your son Dietrich. Welcome. For anything you already supply all my needs. And I just wanted to say thank you for your grace and your patience with me, loving me in spite of me. Now I see when I call you. I was surprised about that. Yes. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Take yourself off mute.
Hello. Good morning.
Diandra Renée in the house.
Good
the
morning.
Dream Navigator. First of all, the top of your bio, oh, that does it for me. A global force of intelligence, business, scholarship, and class. Yes.
Thank you. God is good.
Thank you for gracing our stage. Hold on, wait a minute. Let me go change my so y'all don't hear the wind. Let me go change my audio. Okay. Is that better? That's if you can hear the wind now.
No, we can't hear the wind.
Okay, good. Make sure you guys say hello.
We may need to hear the wind. Let it bless us, okay? What my song this week has been the wind of God is blowing my way. So that just make it, prophetic. Bless the Lord.
I know. It's like, let me go on the balcony today, but I don't know if that was a good idea. I don't know. You're going to hear dogs barking and everything on the island. Yes. I'm so excited to have you. So, guys, Dr. Diandra Renée is actually an accountability partner of mine, and we have not had the opportunity to have her on the show. So I'm very excited to have her on and to really talk about, because we talk about like what we plan on doing for the week. So I'm excited for other people to hear and for me to get more versed into what you actually offer, all your expertise. Look, Jessica said, hi. Hello, Dr. Renée.
Jessica.
Yes. So always get started with this. Something fun and quirky about yourself that people do not know. We got the bio. Come on.
I know, fun and quirky. I had to think about this. I'm like, what am I say? I don't know. So I have I've done West African dance for over 20 years.
Really?
So art was the first thing that took me international, actually. It was singing. It wasn't dancing. It was singing. But I travel mostly with people that I've learned from the African dance community. So that is what took me international initially.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
What? Come on, why you tell me you had some of that in you? Is that the West Africa? Is that what they?
I mean, it's how you feel. There are some traditional dances, but we'll let you. I'm sure we can find that somewhere.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So we are here, and I didn't want to just say believe bigger,
Yeah.
right? Believe and do. Believe and do. And to me, those two things go together, right? Like doing absent of believing and believing absent of doing, so that's where we was going with the title today. But you have, similar to me and many other women, that book, Believe Bigger, the devotional, Marshawn Evans Daniels, was just blessed our lives. Like me and my friends had our own little book club about it, met every Sunday for quite some time. And I know that you also started a Dream Big crew where you did the 100 days of Believing Bigger. So let's start there. Let's talk about like what drew you to that book and what made you want to start that group. Let's start there.
Okay, so I started the book. So I read Believe Bigger. That's the first book that she had heard. I guess it's a novel. And then she came out with the devotional. And so I was introduced with the to the book from a friend of mine who also kind of served as an accountability partner in that season. And so I was like, oh, this is a very, very interesting story. Marshawn Evans Daniels is a licensed attorney. So am I. She works in the her platform is based on God, which is interesting to me to see how she crosses discipline. So I thought that was cool. There's some other aspects of like her personal journey that just relate to, I ain't never been married and the man cheated or nothing like that. I ain't do that, but that ain't yeah.
Right. Yes.
On that. But
like she cheated, found out he was cheating the week of their wedding.
Yes, the Monday. I think her wedding was like on a Saturday. She found out that Monday or something crazy.
Yeah. Like they were in the city they were going to get married in.
Yes.
And then she found out that her fiance was cheating.
What? Like what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So crazy. So I was like, oh wow. But to see how she turned her pain into purpose, and to see how she still uses that to push other people into their purpose, I thought was amazing. And one of the things that I enjoyed was just her perspective of the Bible. I'm low-key a nerd. I really love to learn. And
low-key or high-key?
I don't know. But it depends, But I take in a lot of information. And so, but one thing that I really enjoy is I like to hear people's perspectives. And then I get to choose how I want to show up. And so I enjoyed Marshawn Evans Daniels' perspective when it came to how she read the Bible, how she made it practical, and just how she interpreted it. And then the fact that she put it in a book. So I did her 100 Days of Believing Bigger, the devotional myself for my own journey. And then I felt like the Lord was telling me to actually bring other women onto the journey. So I'm gonna tell myself, I feel the Lord called me to be a coach a long time ago, some years ago. And I just never accepted the title. Even like if I had one-offs and was coaching people, they'd be like, all right, thank you, Coach Dr. Di. I'm like, just leave the coach off. It's fine. So, and so it literally took me about a year, I think, to the day, because I journaled every day. And so I went back and looked at my journal, and I started, it was October of 2022. I started the Dream Big crew with the 100 Days of Believing Bigger in October 2023. So it took me a year to get there, but I mean, I joke like, the Lord knows how long it's gonna take me to actually do something when He called me to do it, so He probably knew that. But like, let me call her a year in advance because this child,
it's gonna take a while. So you read it in 2022. I think I read it during the pandemic in 2020, because I can recall actually walking and listening, when you were like, oh, I just got to get out the house, one of those moments like during the lockdown. And I took a really, really long walk. And I think this part of the book was really powerful for me, because she said, like, she had got her career back going, because at one point she shut down her business.
Everything down.
Her business. And so she had got her career up and going, but she came to the place where she wasn't believing in love. And so it was just this, and she said, I had to believe, if I believed for everything else, I also needed to believe for this thing, right? And it was just this, it was just profound, because how easy it is for us to excel, like not easy, but we can believe, it's easier for us to believe for in some aspects of our lives and not the others. So she was so super transparent in the book. It's very relatable, because she was so transparent about what she was feeling and what she was struggling with. Even when she went through that, like the depression after that, like bawling in tears, like not being able to make money, anything, but God still providing, but literally crying her heart out before she goes on stage for a speaking.
Yeah, like,
You know?
I thought it was, I read the book, I think around probably the same time, or maybe 21, but then I read the devotional because it came out later.
Yeah,
but
I did devotional too.
Yeah, so what you're speaking of, I thought the same things, very, very transparent, and just that identity shift that it takes, just in life's journey. And it comes in different ways for different people, but I thought she was just super, super transparent in terms of how she decided to share that with all of us. And I think it's so necessary, because in this journey, we think we all alone. We think ain't nobody struggling. People like to just post the highlight reels, so it's, I thought that was amazing as well.
Right. So it resonated with you, and you wanted to take other women on the journey. There's this part of it that I really want to lift up, and she calls this the 5 stages of divine reinvention. Like the whole premise of this book is that the hardships in your life aren't meant to, this is you could tell me what you think. The hardships in life are not meant to break you, but to basically to realign you and to propel you into something greater than you were in before that happened. She calls it a split rock moment. Is that like your big takeaway of the book? Like if you had to give the listeners a brief, like, this is what this book and this journal was about, what would you say?
One would be identity. In the process to discovering your identity and purpose. And then how you take life's moments, those challenging times and moments, and how you can interpret them for your good. So I know, this is a belief thing, but obviously I'm Christian. I believe in the Bible, Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. He died on the cross. We celebrated his reresurrection yesterday. Hallelujah. But come on, sing it.
Hey, that's the song right there.
Hallelujah. But yeah, and how because like you hear, for me on my journey, it was, you hear these Bible verses all the time, but then you like, but what does that really mean? Like, all things are working together for my good. How is this good? Like, what, Lord? And so she literally made that real for me in her book by her life's journey, and how you take these basically, split rock moments. You take these moments of disruption. I've heard her describe it as also these big moments of disruption and conflict, and how you allow them to bring you into further alignment into who God called you and purposed you to be.
Yes, that's good. So let's get into it.
Yeah.
What was one of your split rock, or what they call disruption? What would you say? The moment of disruption.
A moment of disruption.
What was one of your life?
Divine disruption. But for me, let's see. One of the largest ones for me was, I'll go with the valley. I was gonna go with the hill. But one of my biggest dreams was to get a PhD and a JD by 30, which was the year 2020 for me. And so, I did it on that journey, embarked on that journey, did the math, like, okay, this many years. The path was not straight and narrow. So like it took me longer to do the PhD than I wanted to, which meant I started law school. And I wasn't finished with my PhD. I was ABD, which is all but dissertation, meaning I only had to do my dissertation, was done with classes, required classes for the degree. But I was like, no, we're going to stick to this timeline, because law school takes 3 years if you're a full-time student. And so started law school. The law school is not easy. Not for me, it was not. But I naturally have been gifted in intelligence, academia. So it wasn't necessarily hard for me to learn, but I discovered that something was challenging about law school. And my brain was not working how I wanted it to work. And so, or how it needed to work. I don't know even if it was I wanted it, how I needed it to work to be successful in law school.
Right.
So, I just, I advocated for myself. I knew something wasn't right. And then nothing really happened. They just told me to keep going. And so I took my final exams in law school. You don't really have any other exams at all. You take your final exams and that's it. So it was my second semester in law school. I had surpassed the first semester, which is big. 44% of minority students of color don't go from their first to second year of law school. So you see that, you see people drop off who look like you in the process. And then what happened to me was that I ended up being one of those people. I ended up getting academically dismissed my second semester of my first year of law school. But it was after I learned that I did have something going on with my brain, it was a lot of different diagnoses that came together, but ended up being diagnosed with a learning difference. And but I never thought I would ever be in the position of being dismissed from law school. Like, I hope
Right. Take us to that moment, right? Like, just like Marshawn in her book, she took us like through the feeling, through the emotions. This might have been some time ago, but in the moment where you're academically dismissed, your brain isn't working the way you want it. Not to mention that I imagine your identity had been tied into achievement and excelling. Like, it sounds like you were used to excelling, especially academically. So what was going through your mind, your heart, your body at that
time? The first shock. I'm gonna be the first one in shock. Like, I'll say, nigga, what? So I know people don't use the N-word, but that's really what went through my mind.
Right.
What? Hold on,
right.
what? Like, excuse me? So, like, when I read the letter, my heart dropped and stopped. One, I didn't like the language in the letter, was so insensitive. But two, it was like, I literally just worked a whole year of law school, and you trying to say, it's literally like you trying to say my dreams aren't possible. Like, you're trying to say I'm not worth my dreams coming true. Like, all of that, like, what is, like, that went through my mind. What people thought kind of went through my mind, not too much, because I didn't dwell on that. I'm one of those people where I know that, first of all, I'm going to just talk about my journey to get to deciding to do a PhD JD. When I would tell people my dreams, they were just like, why do you want to do that? I even went to a Black woman, pretty high profile here where I am, in Columbus, lawyer. And she was like, why do you want both? You'll be more educated than like the 1% of people in Ohio. And I was like, why not? Like, what? Right. And so, but for me, so all of those things came, like, maybe they were right. Maybe I shouldn't have pursued this. Maybe, maybe I don't deserve this. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. And then it was, and then devastation, like what am I going to do? Like, because I don't have no other plan. The next 3 years of my life, I'm going to be a lawyer, graduating from law school. Like, that was my plan. So I'm like, Lord, what else you want me to do? I felt like the Lord had called me to it, literally up until the day I was supposed to apply for law school. It was in my spirit, like, you got to apply today to take this LSAT. You can have do it on time.
Isn't that one of the most challenging moments? I don't mean to interrupt you, but one of the most challenging moments is when you feel like you're doing what you're told to do, what you're called to do. You responded to it, and the thing ain't working out. Like, I'm confused.
You hear me?
Right.
Like, what? It literally is happening. So
that reminds me of Tyler Perry, and like, his whole thing is like, he went out, he knew he was supposed to do those plays, he was failing and sleeping in his car and all this, and he's like, God, like, what in the world? Like, I always say, what in the flippity flop? Like, I'm doing what you told me to do. I know that I heard it. My spirit felt it. Like, but it's not working out. How dare it?
How dare, like, what?
And how dare you?
I was about to say that next. Like, if we want to go there. How dare you, God?
How dare you? I try to follow your path, and you know what I mean?
literally, like, I literally did what you said. I am doing what you said. What is happening?
Yeah,
How?
yeah.
Why would you let me? Why would you let this happen? And I
Right,
remember
right, right.
there being a moment, I'm about to get emotional, but a moment on my stairs, and I was
Mhm.
walking up the stairs, and I was about to be like, all right, I quit. Because I had been advocating for myself. I read every ABA law that there was, because I was one of those like, no, okay, if you told me to do this, there got to be another way. And so I'm one of those, I'm like, I'm gonna read every policy, every manual. The school I went to did not have academic probation. And so I ended up getting a D in like a 4-credit class, and it tanked my GPA. I felt no classes at all. And so I was like, let me read everything, let me read all the rules, all the that's probably why I should have went to law school anyway, because that was me. Even in undergrad, that's how I graduated undergrad early. And so but doing all of that, I was still advocating for myself. It didn't look like things were moving along. So I was like, okay, Lord, I quit. Like, we ain't got to do it. If this ain't what you call me to do, then I could have heard wrong. Sure. Like, that doubt started to creep in. Like, okay,
Yeah.
nah. So I was about to break down on my stairs, literally like in tears, and just, you know how you just want to sit in your own little bowl of tears. Like, we just gonna sit here and just be gonna
Oh
rock.
yeah, 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 yeah. That was
And
2020. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and so I remember putting like literally like one foot in front of the other, and I literally, I don't, it's the description I have in my head is like, have you ever seen somebody take a cat from like their whole, pull a cat up by their back, and you just see them
Mhm.
like just hanging there like, ah. And so
Yeah.
I felt like the Lord literally took his hand on my back and like pulled me up, like, nah, girl, get up
Mhm.
and keep moving. And so like literally like took all the sorrow out of my body as he raised me up and was like,
Mhm.
nah, this is what I called you for, keep walking. And so that was one of the most pivotal moments, because I was about to go down deep. Like, all right, well, it is what you said. Let me go ahead and make my bed here. And it
Right.
was, and the Lord was like, nah, this ain't what I called you to.
Yeah.
And picked
Yeah.
me up and told me to keep going. So I did. I ended up getting back into law school that fall,
Mhm.
started that fall, and I ended up graduating. I worked my behind off. Um,
Yeah.
and I graduated with my walking class.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And she talks about that. I want to like, and you spoke about this earlier. And I think it's interesting too, because you were like law and you had chose law. So she has these 5 stages. She says,
Yeah.
1, discovery. Who
Mhm.
am I supposed to be? Right? Going through that discovery process. The talent is, who did I decide to be? Because she talks about how much we are conditioned to become something that may be opposing to who we are really supposed to be. And what she talks about is this idea of your talent. Like, you start doing the things that you're just naturally good at.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's because there's a teacher that deterred you from something. You know, sometimes it's because you just fall into it by default. Like, I think about me, I laugh all the time. I said, how did I end up doing strategy work with plans and Excels when really I'm a creative, right? Like, I went to school for film and television production. Like, I landed into a field and I became successful in it. But when I think about where I get the most energy, or who I was before life sort of took me down that path, I was completely different. Like, I was a free wild child that flowed by whatever. Like, I wasn't like, toot, 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 toot. Like, here's the system of it, right? Even though my mind worked chronologically. So I think about that, right? And then there's that gap. What's happening to me, which it sounds like that's where you were like, what is happening? This is work that I'm doing, but I'm building to get to something else. There's this gap. What is happening to me? And then she said, on the other side of that is the gift. How did you really design me? How did you really wire me? And then the 5th one is, where are you sending me now?
Mhm.
So when you came out of that and you went into law school, like, how was that pivotal in your life? What happened next that, had you not experienced that moment, you might not have went that direction?
Yeah, I started asking those questions. So who did I decide to be? Like, so for me, walking through those law school hallways, I had to decide who I was going to be,
Mm,
because I could have taken on shame. Like, even though I decided to continue, I decided to, I had to redo my whole first year of law school. So for a
mm,
whole year, I was sitting in first year classes that I already took and already passed. Because remember,
wow.
I failed no class.
Yeah.
So um and the lowest grade I got was a D, and I was in one class.
Mm,
So and so I had to decide, like, who I going to take on, because you could take on that spirit of pride. I also was sitting there in my first year class that I already took as a whole PhD student.
mhm, mhm,
So
mhm.
so you really have to decide
Yeah.
who you're going to be. So how was I going to walk in those hallways? Was I going to take on the cloak of shame? Was I going to hide? Was I going to, scream to the mountaintops that I felt like I had been like I felt like an injustice had happened to me? Like, what was I going to do? How was I
Yeah.
going to show up? And so,
Yeah.
and who did God call me to be? And so I
Right.
had to really, really decide who I was and who I was gonna show up in that moment, because you
Yeah.
all of those people dwell
Yeah.
inside. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
so who
Yeah.
if I who was I going to take on? What was going to be the most beneficial to who I believe God called me to be? Because I didn't think that God was going to put me in a position like that, um,
Mhm,
to
mhm.
one, to disglorify his name, and one, that it did not have purpose, because I had to decide that God actually loves me, that God actually wants what's best for me, and that if there's anything that I face, then it's going to work out for my good. So am I going to make decisions that
Mhm.
are in alignment to it working for my good, or am I going to
Mhm.
make decisions that are going to make it detrimental to my
Yeah.
purpose and to
Yeah.
my mind, my psyche, all
Mhm.
of that? And so one of the things that shifted for me is that I get to choose what
Mhm.
value something has for me. And so
Mhm.
that takes you to me, that helps with how you believe bigger. Like, I get to
Yeah.
decide with whatever you say to me if it has value to who I believe that I am.
Because so many people along the way had their opinions
Yeah.
about you. Did you believe? But so let me. But when you made the choice, did you 100% believe at that moment,
You gotta
even
walk
when
it
you were
out. I mean, you have to walk it out, but I mean, it
yeah,
was even what people said before, but people I would
yeah.
face in the hallway. I went to a teacher trying to get help one time, and she was like, "This is why you failed out the first time." Literally. And I'm like, "Damn, I'm
Mm,
in your office trying to get other help."
wow,
I had to
wow.
decide what those words were going to mean to me.
And you had to believe in what was put in you in order to even get there. But
I
it
had to
sounds like you
believe
had
that
it
God called me to it. I had to believe that God called me to
right,
this journey and that
right.
I was equipped to do it. That's what I had to believe.
So your faith plays a big role. What would you encourage people? Because it sounds like because of your faith, and then you also just maybe have this innate ability to believe in something big. Like she said, it would make you more educated than um,
It was like
put you part
1%.
of 1%. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you pursuing that. So it seems like you were naturally dreaming bigger, and that your faith allowed you to. For those that don't have that level of faith, what would you say to them when it comes to believing bigger or pursuing their dreams? How do they begin to believe?
I think you start with deciding. I have like two frameworks. One is DEI, so decide, evaluate, decide, decision, intention, and expectation. Sorry.
Mhm.
Decision, intention, and expectation. And so I flip the words around sometimes too, because it also, you can put DIE, not die like that, but die DIE.
Yeah.
Because you have to decide to, and Marshawn talks about this in some form or way, but you have to decide who you're going to be, and
Mhm.
how if you're going to go towards that higher self, or you're going to go towards what's comfortable for you.
Yes, yes. That was one of the big, she calls it the big me and the little me.
Yes, yes, that's what.
Yes, yes. That was one of the most profound things because it makes you think about, okay, so tell us about the big me, little me. Go ahead, break that down for us.
So it is, it's you decide. So like, if you have this vision of who you want to be, because I really do believe that people see bigger, like people see themselves in a different light. Like, you can see, like, even when you have moments, if you take a pause, sometimes you can decide like, oh, am I gonna cuss them out? or am I just going to be polite and keep moving? You have that decision to make. Like, you can decide,
Yeah.
and you may decide to go based off of what you're comfortable with. Sometimes it's easier for you to cuss them out and move on because that's what you're used to. It's harder for you to take it on the chin, or as the Bible say, turn the other cheek and keep it moving, because it calls you to be more like Christ. It causes you to die to that prideful self. It causes you to die to leaning on your own understanding. It's like, nah, this math means that they just said X, Y, and Z. So I have to show them who I am by saying X, Y, and Z. And it's like, I had to decide, am I who I am because God made me who I am, or am I who I am because they said that's who I am? And so I think the big me is who God called you to be, who God said that you are. Are you fearfully and wonderfully made? How you check in with God. When you go to the pearly gates and you look at God's face, are you who he designed you and shaped you to be? Because I don't think when we talk about God is not a respecter of persons, I don't think God cares too much about your experiences. He believes in grace and mercy, yes, but God formed you before he formed you in your mother's womb, meaning he knew what purpose you were supposed to have before you journeyed in this life and experienced all those things. And it does not change. He knows he's Alpha and Omega, beginning and the end, and knows all things in between. So he purposed you with that, and that's it. That's who you are supposed to be, no matter what happens. And so his grace is sufficient and his strength is made perfect in your weakness. So depend on God, but you have to choose the ways of God. So I think that's big self is choosing who God called you to be. And that lower or that smaller self is choosing the doubt, choosing the confusion, choosing the comfortability at times, and choosing.
No, I think that's good. And even in thinking about believing bigger and pursuing some of our dreams and desires and goals, there's a part of us that once we dare to dream bigger and we start to think about where we want to be, there's something that's required of us to get there, right? So I encourage the women that I work with to not focus on the action, but focus on who you're becoming. Because if you focus on who you become, the actions naturally follow. Because you're like, we don't do that. But the little me, like when I was about to eat that, when I was eating that apple pie last night, that was the little me. Because the bigger me has this go, right? But the funny thing is when you start walking in that path of your higher self, your higher being, and you start saying we don't do this anymore, even when the lower self tries to pull you or the little me tries to pull you back, there's something that doesn't feel right anymore.
Yeah, you feel misaligned.
Like we don't do that. We don't do that. But that little me will constantly be in your mind, pulling you back to what's familiar, pulling you back to the perceived safety, pulling you back to the perceived comfort zone. And it feels like sometimes that the higher me is what requires more work and is more scary and is this. But the truth of the matter is, it's really the most safest, happiest, whole place we can be. Anything else is the settling and the shrinking, and that's what's painful. But we don't even allow ourselves to get to the other side to see that. But you should know because you're struggling and you don't feel good, right?
Yeah, but it's familiar. So it's like, I'm going to take, when you go back to the person you know you ain't really supposed to be with, it's like, yeah, but I know this pain. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know this.
Yes, I know this pain.
I know I can deal with it. I know what I got to do. You know, I know I got to do.
Yes, this is familiar, and how of subconsciously. And I think that's we can liken a little me to the subconscious part of us, where it's like you choosing what you know, but believing bigger is saying there's more. And there's a constant reminder. So you like, go ahead, sit down. We don't, but it's like you really have to start to become aware. Like you really have to pause in each moment, each thought and interaction, and allow yourself to become aware instead of moving through like a robot. Like we don't realize how robotic we are.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, we have to learn just human nature, human behavior. You naturally, your brain literally it makes so many decisions. It tries to basically automate some things.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that's how your subconscious is built. You don't realize you didn't automate it. It's like when you're driving home and you like, I don't remember how I got here.
Yeah, right. Are you going a new way, but you start going, oh,
I do that.
You're like, why am I over here? Why am I going this way? Right. Exactly.
But that's how our brains work to not make things be like, so we can eliminate how hard our brain has to work. But to do that work, to believe bigger and then even move to that doing bigger, is you have to be honest with yourself, and then be okay with exploring that journey with you. Like, well, hold on. Like, and that's the heart framework for me, but here, evaluate, assess, redirect, and transform. So what have I heard about this particular decision, or what have I heard about myself? And then evaluating all of that, looking at assessing what resources you have to contribute to that goal of your higher self, or that particular goal or action. And then how can you redirect all of those things so that you can be that transformative person? So that R&T, but really understanding, like, you have to be honest with yourself though. It's like,
has to be.
No, I didn't really have to, because
when it's ugly.
Yeah. No, really.
They do me right. I still love them though. Help me, Lord.
Exactly.
I jacked that situation up, right?
It still feels good. It still feels good. I didn't move on to that bigger me. So there's a part of me where that still feels good. So really understanding that and being honest with yourself, and then allowing that, and then moving from there. Because I don't say another Bible verse, but they that worship me must worship me in spirit and truth. We act like God don't know the truth. God is truth. Like, we act like God don't know how we feel for real. So
sometimes we don't know how we feel for real.
Yeah,
sometimes because it's so muddy in so much. It's like, what is my truth? In the situation. And one thing that a friend of mine said, sometimes we can't look at what we're saying, but look at how we're acting. Because a friend of mine said, I know what you deserve, what you feel like you deserve by what you accept. Now let that sit in for a little bit.
Let it go ahead.
That's it, right? Welcome everybody. Welcome to Make It Happen Monday. Say hello as you come in, and let me hear some of y'all dreams. Let me hear some of your dreams. Put some of your dreams in the chat. Let's put them out in the atmosphere so we can start believing bigger and aligning on these dreams coming true. Like, we don't dream big enough. It's so small. Like, in comparison, we're talking about, we live in an infinite universe where anything is available and accessible to us. But we don't dream. We put boxes and limitations on what's possible before we even pursue it. So it's like, go ahead. What you saying?
You good? Go ahead.
Well, I'll say, so what's some of the dreams in the Dream Bigger crew that y'all working on? Y'all went from believing bigger to doing bigger. What's some of the things that's going down up in the Dream Big crew?
Yeah, I need to do better with sharing. So we did 100 days of Believing Bigger. So we read the book together. We got together on a call. We get together every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern on Zoom, and we talk about our dreams. So this next, we are in our 100 days of doing bigger iteration. The ladies on the call, they're like, so we're not stopping at this 100 days of believing bigger. Like, what are we going to do next? Like, we need this, because we started realizing I realized just creating the Dream Big crew is, like, I was talking about how I would tell people I wanted to be a PhD in JD. They'd be like, what? Why you want to do all that? Like, why you do that? And it's like, why do you need to say that? Like, just be positive encouragement if you ain't got something else to say. So and it's like, and so it's, for me, what we do on the call is creating that community to empower and encourage you to dream bigger and then do it. Like, we all have set a goal to ultimate dream. So I'm acting as a dream navigator. It's another word for like coach, but it's
I don't like that coach word either. I don't know why.
I don't either.
Yeah.
It's really
it's what people are used to. So what's your ultimate dream?
I got many.
In the call, you focusing on many, or you just
so for me, what did I pick? One is establishing this Dream Big crew, establishing this this online presence, and establishing this coaching program ultimately. So that's the Dream Big crew is a part of my Dream Big. So, so staying consistent with that. So we're not in the book anymore. So all of the content that we are doing every week, we come together, we assess our goals, created an ebook for us to use as we assess our goals. We plan. Everybody is supposed to have a 90-day plan. So we took 10 days to really dream big, because we, like you said, we don't take the time, one, to be honest with ourselves, but we don't take the time to really decide or evaluate if this is the life that we actually want to live.
Yes.
So we take 10 days.
Talking about language, because that's what we're talking about on the I Love My Life masterclass.
Yeah.
Like, you can't love your life if you don't know what kind of life you really want to live. And if you don't give yourself permission to design that life. Because most people think that I don't have the ability or the option to live between the States and the island. And I'm a mom. I have sons. So like, you do what? You do what? Yeah. Or to be able to earn a living without working myself to death. Right? Like, no, you got to do this, you got to show up this, you got to do calls, you got to do this, you got to do that. But it's like, that doesn't align with my values. That doesn't align with the way that I want to live my life. And so why can't I believe that it's possible for me to live otherwise?
Yeah, and it's asking your question like, well, do I? Or like, when you say that, for me, I'm asking like, do you have to do that? Do you have to do all these calls? Do you really have to?
Right.
And it's like,
that's what I love that you brought that up, that idea of have to. We are all like, and pay attention for anybody that's watching this, please pay attention to how many times you say you need to or you have to. You need to and have to for the next week. Pay attention in your language how many times you say you need to and you have to. That is a cover up for you living under conditions, restraints, limited.
Or go to another question. So do you have to, if you're using that language, who told you that you have to do it?
Who told you that?
Who told you that? Where did you get that from?
Yeah.
What value system do they have? Does it align with your value system? It's asking those critical questions, because you really need to get to the root of where you got that from. And so, and then making a decision from there as to how you want to actually live your life, who you actually want to show up to be. Because often, like when I started doing that type of work and understanding, it's like, oh, because one of my biggest shifts was I had to decide that success was not a straight and narrow path. Like, it was the journey that I'm on is the journey I'm supposed to be on.
Yeah.
I'm equipped to live it.
And accept it. I'm hearing you throughout the conversation. You bringing up this thing, even when you talk about this truth, it's like, how do we accept something for what it is and not place a negative connotation to it, right?
Yes.
So like, what you feel is what you feel. It doesn't need to be negative. It's your truth, because then you decide what you want to do with it, right?
Yes, because it just is.
It just is. It's not good. It's not good, bad, or indifferent. It just is. And that's the level of truth that you need in order to know what to believe, what you want to pursue, and how to pursue it. Like I keep hearing that being kind of like weave throughout the conversation, is this idea of that.
Yes. And then once that's what I do with my own emotions. It's like, okay, so this is how I feel. But what you do from there that's when you can just ascribe negative, positive, big self, small self. That's when you can ascribe to that. Because even sometimes we don't take into account, even with those big self decisions, that bigger me, like when we make those decisions, sometimes that little me is still inside of you. And it's okay.
She ain't going nowhere.
She's not, but right. So it's that she's there. So sometimes we get like shame and guilt and all that has to get to show up, because we're like, dang, why I still gotta think like that? Or why is she still showing up? She gonna be there. But your healed self, your whole self is okay with the fact that she's there, and you can make a decision that is not from that place, because it's not from that small self place. It's not from that little girl place. It's not from that little me place. It's from that bigger me. And then making that decision from there. And then that's you're in alignment. That's when you can walk in your purpose.
Yeah.
That's when you can walk in your power. That's when you can be confident because you're showing up as your whole and authentic self, accepting it.
Yes.
And then
Accepting all of what it is. And I love that you said that. My counselor over this past year had brought up the fact that there was a teenage self too. So it kind of depends on what you've going through in your life. I had given and started to acknowledge the little girl, but not the teenage version. And what she encouraged is like when that little me or that smaller version of yourself is taking up so much space, how do you begin to um, give her what she needs to meet her where she's at, so she doesn't have to keep showing up in that way?
yeah.
Because it's like she's reacting to something, she's missing something, she's needing something. It's why she keeps trying to pull you. She doesn't feel safe for some reason. So how do you let her know that it's okay and why this isn't right? So it's like, and sometimes this can feel very abstract, but I promise you, it works and it's real. And basically, what we're saying is that there's a part of you that is used to something different than where you want to go when you dream bigger.
Yeah.
That part of you will continue to show up until you deal with it in a very direct, honest way and solve whatever issue there is or that came about as a result of it. And as Black women, we deal with trauma so much that even if we didn't have like some of the more traumatic experiences, like growing up poor is trauma. Being Black in America is traumatic. There's things that we carry in our DNA, and I want to do a show on that, which really breaks down how we carry things that have nothing to do with us, but they're left for us to fight in. So sometimes it's not that you don't believe or you don't want to believe for yourself. It's that there's something that's holding you back. Your grandmama's belief that's embedded in you. You know what I mean? Like that's keeping you from believing that that thing is possible. Because my grandma taught us to put your head down, close your mouth, don't say nothing, don't be seen. Like that was how she operated. And if I chose to live like that, I would not be even a quarter of who I am today. Right.
Yeah.
But we're not always taught to do that. She was from Alabama. I don't blame her for it. That's how she grew up. That's what she knew. But there's just so much to be broken and to break through in order for us to get to that place of one, believing, and then actually taking the steps forward to do it.
For sure. Yeah.
So if they don't hear anything else today, nothing else, they don't walk away with anything else, what's the one thing you want the listeners to know?
Is that you have the power to dream big. So we didn't talk about it. DREAM is actually an acronym. So it stands for Designing Reality Exponentially and Magnificently. And so in all of that is the encompassing power of you. Like you have the ability to decide what your life looks like. You have the ability to decide who you're going to show up as, no matter what has happened to you. You said something about trauma, and I did want to touch on that. Sometimes we think traumatic events have to be this huge thing, but they can be the smallest moments of disruption. And so it is really just the moments and those experiences that we have that we don't actually understand. And so even as a child, it could even be seeing somebody cry because you don't understand why they're crying in that moment. And that could have shifted your world and shifted your perspective. And so, but yeah, really understanding, walking away with your power to dream, like designing reality exponentially and magnificently and big is believing in God or believing in good, whatever works for you. And it's that really understanding that you have the power to dream, you have the power to dream big. You can decide that everything is really working for your good. But being able to be honest and shifting and operating in truth and shifting everything that comes your way to make sure that it works for your good. You have that power, you have that authority, you have that right. And so really encouraging people to dream big, because this world would be so much of a better place if we all actually dreamed big and then pursued our dreams. So,
and I'm a little biased, so I just feel like it would be so great if we as Black women
yes, girl,
decided to dream big, to take up space,
yes,
do the things that we see other people do that for some reasons you don't believe that's for you,
I mean,
or
let's
somebody said we don't do that.
yeah,
We absolutely do that.
we
We
can.
can do that. We
Yes.
will do that as soon as we decide to dream for that
And we'll
and
do
to
it better.
do what it takes. Yeah, to do what it takes. Do what it takes. Do what it takes. And so we know that belief is, even that whole I believe, but help my unbelief.
Yes. That
And
is
so I
awesome.
just want to, yes, absolutely. I want to encourage people to keep saying the affirmations, doing the having the mantra, um, talking to yourself, the self-talk, doing the work inside, like asking yourself the question, because affirmation and mantras alone is not enough. But ask yourself the question. So when you're saying it and that thing comes up where it's like you really don't believe it, ask yourself why. Ask yourself what happened that told you that. Begin to really work through that and what is that? They talk about
Yeah.
reprogram yourself, reprogram those thoughts, reprogram those beliefs. Start by doing behavior shifts. Like if I did believe, what would I do?
Yes.
How would I show up? And then you start doing it, right? Like I don't 100% believe that my belly gonna get all the way flat.
Because you ain't seen it yet, huh? You ain't seen it in a long time.
I'm seeing some changes in the body. I'm going 90 days strong. I'm on day 51-ish because I might have missed a few days, but that's okay. But I don't believe, but I still say if I did, or if it was to happen, how would I be showing up? Right. So I pulled out that mat this morning on this floor. My son, especially, don't challenge me either, because my son was like, I knew you was gonna fall off when you get there. don't don't challenge me. Okay. Right. But y'all know I'm silly. But the point of the matter is, even if it's something that you feel is minor, that could be applied to all areas of your life, showing up as if it was true until you start believing it as that.
Yes.
So that's very practical, I would say, advice on starting to believe when it's hard to believe. And oh my God, the fear is gonna come up and wreak its ugly head, but you gotta talk to that thing. You gotta talk to that thing. Yeah.
It was Rev Run. He used to do those, was it Instagram? He used to post those things all the time, words of wisdom or something. But he posted, I heard it from him. It was false fear stands for false evidence appearing real. And
right.
yeah.
I had another one too. False evidence appearing real.
Face everything and rise.
Face everything and rise.
Yeah. Because we often run from it. That's that being honest and letting it be it. Whatever it is, it is. And then going from there. Yeah.
Like, why am I scared? What part of it scared? Start to ask yourself the questions.
Yes.
Get to the root of it, Like, where's that coming from? I know y'all was taught not to ask questions as you grew up. When you grew up, you wasn't allowed to ask them questions.
Listen, my TED Talk is on that. That's how I started. I was that kid that asked all of the questions. You hear me so much. So my grandmother literally got a 4 or 5 volume book series called The Big Book of Questions. Every time I asked a question, she said, look in that book first. Baby, I was like, Grandma, it ain't in the book. She's like,
yes. Start being curious about yourself.
Yes.
And finding those answers.
Yes.
And then you'll see, maybe you just naturally will start believing bigger, because you'll start really believing that you deserve more than what you have and what life thus far told you was possible for you.
Yeah, but you start to see the thread. Like when you start asking those questions, you'll start to see the thread of all of your experiences that come together. Like, oh wow. Like I've been this person. I've been like, you might believe you're weak, but then you realize all of the things you actually overcame and how you actually are way stronger than what you thought you were. You've achieved way more than what somebody said that you could, or even that you thought. And so it's like being okay to explore and ask those questions and do more. It's okay. I've never done this before. Okay. You gotta learn someday. Out there.
Yes. I love that. Okay, this has been a good conversation. You guys make sure you share with your friends, with anybody who needs some advice and some tangible steps on believing bigger. I also want to encourage you all that when we say believe bigger, it doesn't mean you have to pursue a PhD. You have to, go live on an island. You got to make multi-six figures your business. It doesn't have to be about doing all the things. It can just be believing that you can live a life of ease, that you can just be and be happy and be present, because a lot of times we don't even think that that's accessible to us. So whatever it is that you're believing for, to be able to feel good when you wake up every day, right? Make it be real to you. Start believing, and then start taking some actions forward for what it would look like, or who that person is, how she operates, if that in fact was her life. Okay. So our quote of the week is talking about fear, speaking of fear and believing bigger, because fear, it prevents us from doing that sometimes. Our quote of the week is, do what scares you until it doesn't.
Yes.
Do what scares you until it doesn't. And if you want some content, if you want some 3 simple steps on how to live a life you love, I have a masterclass coming up. The link is in the comments. Please join me. I invite you to join me on my masterclass so you can start living a life that you love, okay? Because struggle is not your birthright. It's not. Thank you, Dr. Diandra Renée,
Your host.
global impact and influence. Thank you so much for coming on Make It Happen Mondays, sharing your wisdom. Where can people find you? How can they connect with you to be a part of the Dream Big crew?
Yeah, so I am mostly on Instagram at Dr. Dr. Diandra Renee Renee. So Dr. Diandra Renee on Instagram, Facebook. I have a Twitter or X account, whatever you want to call that. And then you can find me on LinkedIn as you can find Dr. Diandra Renee Gordon Esquire. And then my website, diandrarenee.com, to join the Dream Big crew. But all those links are also in my Instagram bio.
Yes. So do what scares you until it doesn't. Dream big, y'all, and start doing even bigger. Thank you. Make it a phenomenal week. We'll see you next week at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.